convocation, a convening, an assembly of people here at the college to celebrate the life of Dr. King, his spirit. And I am so delighted to be invited here. My name is T. Michael Rambo, and it is a delight and a treat to have been invited to join me. And there is quite a light in this room. And Dr. King left his light. The lights are on, and we are about to embark on an awesome day, a day of observance, a day on, not a day off. You've probably heard that before. It absolutely is a day on. But before we begin with the program itself, we have a program that really began the whole idea of having this event. The convocation came out of a concept about giving acknowledgement to the spirit of Dr. King, the spirit found in faculty as well as students. And there's an award ceremony that happens that acknowledges that, and that's going to happen in just a moment. But first, I would like to introduce to you the president of Augsburg College. The president, Dr. Paul Priverno, is the president-elect, the 11th president of Augsburg College in 2006. He has had a distinguished career in academia. President Priverno is a strong proponent for the tradition of Lutheran education and its concept of vocation and service. In his 6 years at Augsburg, he has been instrumental in growing the Augsburg Convocation series and giving voice to the spirit of Dr. King. Let's hear it for President.
Thank you, T. Michael. It is great to welcome all of you here this afternoon for this annual gathering and celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. It is a great tradition for the Augsburg community to gather along with our neighbors here from Minneapolis and St. Paul to listen once again to the prophetic and grace-filled words of Dr. King. Here at Augsburg, as T. Michael mentioned, we spend a good bit of time talking about what it means to be called or to have a vocation in the world. Our students, faculty, and staff engage each other in important conversation about what it means to be called, about the shape our individual calls might take, no matter what profession or path we choose, and about the difference it makes in the world. For all of this talking, though, and colleges are renowned for all their talking, I worry that we do not pay enough attention sometimes to listening for the calls that may come from diverse and unexpected places and people. Though from a theological standpoint, we believe our calls ultimately come from the divine, something Dr. King never forgot. We must never forget that our God has a history of asking ordinary people like Samuel and Moses, people like Mary and Elizabeth, people like Paul and Peter, people like Rosa Parks and Fannie Lou Hamer, like Reverend Abernathy and Dr. King, people like each of us to speak and act on God's behalf. So today, let us recommit ourselves in this gathering to listening in the midst of a very noisy world, listening to those whose voices are known to us in the words and the music and the cultural expression that we're going to enjoy this afternoon, but that call us out of ourselves and into what God truly intends for each of us individually and for all of us as a community. I've been listening to Dr. King this past year, and one very compelling speech that I've gone back to time and time again was delivered at the end of the march from Selma to Montgomery on March 25th, 1965, on the steps of the Alabama State Capitol building. And there's a wonderful YouTube of this speech if you really want to get the feeling of it. I've made my children watch it over and over again because it's just so important for them to be reminded of this compelling figure who called us in this way. I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth crushed to earth will rise again. How long? Not long, because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long, because you shall reap what you sow. How long? Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, and it bends toward justice. Let's listen. Now let's enjoy this moment, this rare opportunity that we have to listen together as we join in our 2012 MLK Convocation. Now is the time, giving voice to the freedom. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, President Priverno. Each year, the MLK Convocation Committee annually recognizes individuals who demonstrate peace, integrity, and honor while working with others on or off campus. These awardees are nominated by members of the Augsburg community and exemplify the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. Here to announce this year's recipients is Chair of the MLK Convocation Committee, Mohammed Salam, Director of the Pan-African Center and instructor in Augsburg History Department. Mohammed.
Good afternoon. For almost 10 years, the MLK Convocation Committee has sought to find and uplift members of its community whose work has exemplified the spirit of Dr. King. This year is no different. It's only been a few weeks in this new year, but it's already become a year of firsts for the MLK Committee, the MLK Convocation Committee, and the MLK Convocation itself. This will be the first year that we use this format and this venue as an opportunity to uplift this award. We've always had the award, but we've never used this day and really this many people to celebrate this award. So that is quite significant. It's also a year that one of the first times, as far as I can remember, that we've adjusted how we've awarded this award this year. So I'll explain that in a moment. This year's winners, similarly to other years, have benefited the Augsburg community, the City of Riverside neighborhood, and the City of Minneapolis at large with much of their community work. Generally, the award is given in two categories, a faculty and staff award and a student award. And I'm going to take a moment now to introduce to you our faculty award for the year. Dr. Ruth Enisvet, Assistant Professor in the Master's in Arts in Nursing Program, Co-Coordinator of Augsburg Central and Augsburg Fairview Health Commons. Dr. Enisvet's background is in public health nursing, and in anthropology. Her life's work has been dedicated primarily to her work as a faculty member here at Augsburg and at the University of Minnesota. In addition, much of what I think more exciting, she's doing some very exciting work, but I think one of the more exciting pieces of the work that she's done most recently is her work with the Health Commons here at Augsburg. Please welcome Dr. Ruth Enisvet. Now to our student awards. I always find it very interesting in giving the student award because a lot of times I know the students, and while I hope that they don't think they work because I know them, but it's always very helpful because I can speak to the opportunities that I've had to work with them, and these two students are not an exception to that. Halima Abdul Karim will be graduating in 2013. That would make her a junior. My math is correct. She's a social work major. She's in international journalism as well. She currently is the Vice President of the Pan-African Student Union. She's a Bonner leader. She is involved in the Public Achievement Program through the Center for Democracy and Citizenship. She is also an interfaith scholar, and I find this last piece to be most exceptional in that in her work at the East African Women's Center helping refugee women who are new to this country get adjusted. Let's welcome and give a round of applause to Halima. So I told you this year was going to be a little different. In years past, we've given the award to one student. In some cases, we've even given it to a group of students, but we've never given it to two students. So, to your first. This year, the second student that we awarded this award to is Katja Iverson. Katja hopes to graduate this spring. She's a cross-cultural studies major. She's also a Bonner leader. And she's had a significant opportunity working with refugee populations at the East African Women's Center, and her work with the Minnesota Council of Churches and the Refugee Services has been exceptional. I've also had her in class, and I can attest to her abilities and her fantastic abilities and her great contributions in the classroom as well. So please, let's take a moment to welcome Katja Iverson. step down, I'd like to bring a few things to your attention. One, I want to take a moment to thank all of the folks who've been involved in making this event a success. Events and conference planning have been awesome. Thank you so much for all your help. I also want to thank Aviance and Catering, and afterwards you'll get to hang out. Hopefully you'll get to hang out and have some coffee and cake with us. We also want to thank Marketing Communication, the Office of the President, the MLK Convocation Committee, of course. I want to thank Michael Randall for pulling this whole thing together, and I watched them rehearse on Saturday, and you guys are in for a treat. Really, really, you're in for a treat. And lastly, before I step down, I want to draw your attention to the back of your program for the upcoming convocations. There are 2 in February that we'd really love for you to come back to. Both of them are open to the public and free of charge, so we'd like to see you here again in a few weeks' time. Without any further ado, I'd like to resume the program. Thank you.
And to our recipients, another big round of applause, shall we? And something I neglected to ask before we began with the presentation of the award recipients and hearing from our illustrious president is to ask anyone who has a cellular device, something that clicks, ticks, or does anything of that sort, to please either silence it or turn it off as we move forward. For now is the time to do that. And for this afternoon's convocation, now is the time. Giving voice to the dream.
Just like hope springing high may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise.
Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain,
I rise.
I am a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise into a daybreak that is wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise.
No more
So the faces of my people. The stars are beautiful. So the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people. Langston Hughes.
I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I, too, am America. Thanks to you. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I got to keep on walking, I keep on talking, marching up the King's Highway.
Ain't no life won't save you.
Turn me
Turn me around, turn me around. Ain't no life won't save you. Keep on walking, keep on talking, the King's Highway.
Yes. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Now is the time. From the motherland, a people of courage and strength, pride, carried through the Middle Passage the richness, culture, and dignity of Africa. Held in bondage on foreign soil, lifted their voices, their prayers with perseverance and determination, until free at last, thank God Almighty. However, Reconstruction did not mend broken threads, yet a rebirth, a renaissance, provided a new sense of hope and brought us high hopes, but still, there was a Great Depression. And from that depression of 1929 came a king, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Soon and very soon, here come the king, y'all.
We are going
Somehow we must be able to stand up against our most bitter opponents and say, we shall match your capacity to inflict suffering by our capacity to endure suffering. We will meet your physical force with soul force. Do to us what you will, and we will still love you. We cannot in all good conscience obey your unjust laws and abide by the unjust system, because non-cooperation with evil is as much a moral obligation as cooperation with good. So, throw us in jail, and we'll still love you. Bomb our homes and threaten our children, and as difficult as it is, we will still love you. Send your hooded perpetrators of violence into our communities at midnight hour and drag us out of our homes to wayside roads and leave us half dead. And we'll still love you. Send your propaganda agents around the country, make it appear that we are not fit culturally or otherwise for integration, but we will still love you. Be assured that we will wear you down by our capacity to suffer. And one day we will win our freedom. We will not only win freedom for ourselves, we will appeal to your heart and conscience, and our victory will be a double victory. I have stood in a meeting with hundreds of youngsters and joined in while they sang, "Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around." It's not just a song, it's a resolve. A few minutes later, I've seen those same youngsters refuse to turn around from the onrush of police dogs, refuse to turn around from the pugnacious bull Connor in command of men armed with power hoses. These songs bind us together, give us courage together, help us march together, remind us that we shall overcome together. It was the children who kept the movement alive.
1963. 1963. 9 years after the Supreme Court rules that public schools cannot refuse to serve children on the basis of race. 1963. 1963. 8 years after Emmett Till, a 14-year-old boy, is murdered in Money, Mississippi for talking to a white woman.
His mother refused to let her son die for nothing. She spoke out and risked her life, so people all around the world could see what hatred and racism had done to her boy.
1963.
1963.
7 years after justice seekers in Montgomery, Alabama, ride integrated buses after suffering many long months of hardship and violence. 1963. 1963. 6 years after the Little Rock Nine courageously integrated Central High School.
1963.
1963. 3 years after student sit-ins began to spread throughout the country. 1963.
life and death inspired the young and old to continue the nonviolent fight for justice.
1963.
1963.
The movement continues, building on the victories and the tragedies of the past.
We are students from the South Side Family School.
Last year, we took a 12-day journey into the southern states to learn from heroes and sheroes who transformed our world and continue to work for justice.
We were especially excited to visit Birmingham because that is where the Children's Crusade took place in 1963.
1963!
Martin Luther King went to Birmingham, Alabama to work with Fred Shuttlesworth and other great leaders to break down the brutal Jim Crow system. They knew it would be a very hard job.
Nonviolence was often met with the violence of the police and the Klan. Some called Birmingham, Bombingham.
Birmingham. Dr. King organized protests and demonstrations. During one of these protests, he was arrested and placed in solitary confinement, where he wrote his famous letter from a Birmingham jail.
But support for that campaign was waning. When Dr. King was released, he asked who would march with him, who would put their lives on the line for freedom.
Very few adults in the congregation volunteered. The risk, loss of jobs, and responsibilities to their families held many back.
But children rose and stood without hesitation. Soon the Children's Crusade was on its way, and real progress was made.
Thousands of kids, some of them as young as 6 years old, joined marches and peaceful demonstrations.
Will Connor, the police commissioner, tried everything to stop the kids. He tried arresting them, but the kids filled the jails and kept coming back.
He used high-powered fire hoses, huge numbers of troopers, and vicious police dogs.
But the kids kept coming back, and the world saw what was going on in Birmingham.
The Children's Crusade forced city officials and businessmen to compromise, and changes began to happen in Birmingham.
Over 2,000 children were arrested during the 6-day Children's Crusade, and Mrs. Myrna Carter Jackson was one of those children.
When Myrna was a teenager, her mother died in a crowded basement ward of a segregated hospital, where water dripped from pipes and there were very few doctors.
She attended crumbling schools with outdated books and as many as 45 kids in the classroom, and she experienced the savage racism of Birmingham on a daily basis.
She was ready to fight this cruel system.
When she committed herself to nonviolence and marched from her church to downtown Birmingham, she was arrested.
She spent 5 days in jail that first time. The kids were given overly salted food, and the guards did everything they could to hurt and frighten them.
Some of their parents lost their jobs, and many lives were threatened.
But she and the other brave kids never gave up.
We learned more about the resistance to racism as we took a walking tour through downtown Birmingham.
We know now, from studying the civil rights movement, that now is always the time to come together and stand for justice.
Come together and stand for justice.
Recognize that there are ties between us. All men and women living on the earth. Ties of hope and love, sister and brotherhood. And we are bound together
Where sweat-soaked ebony bodies, where brown backs flashed blood, where the sea seemed to last forever. I had a nightmare about ships, chains, and wagons, about whips, crow, and songs, about tracks, change, and swamps. I had a dream of unrest in each hemisphere, of Yankee bayonets and Confederate cannons, of black and white fighting arm in arm, of shackled hands weaving cotton fields. I had a dream their eyes were watching God, those weary blues. Remember to tell my horse my lives and how I lost them. The folks there were color-struck, you know, the black of the berry. I had a dream with a jazz record, brass, with a blues background, brass, with a soul soundtrack, food, with a spiritual melody, mood. I had a nightmare of a bus on fire, of pointed white hoods, of bricks, shattering windows, of separate hospitals, of beating, breaking, vanishing. I had a nightmare about two little black girls in fine attire praying in the pews in Birmingham, interrupted by a bomb, smoke and fire, such small hands. That wasn't a nightmare. I had a dream, a mustached black preacher, surname Royalty, driven by compassionate nonviolent tactics to equality, spoke to people of all gender, religion, race, and ethnicity about racism, brotherhood, and change in the black community. I had a dream of action. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. There will be no more calls of wait. It must be demanded by the oppressed. No more delays of justice, only action. I had a dream of Georgia women making pies, filled with strange fruit and bus seats, of coffee counters seating men of all colors, sharing paper, the sugar shaker. I had a dream there was peace, a wall of unmoving bodies. There was silence, families reflecting. There was change, but where do we go from here? I had a dream his dream was kept alive, not by Georgia Pie, but Occupy. Occupy the dream. Not of two women, black and white at a counter, but two women in love at the altar. Love the dream. Not slurs, ignorance, and passivity, but acceptance, celebration, change. Live the dream. I have a dream. Floodgates opening, clasped hands, forming truths, sharing songs, making the difference, dreaming in color.
great periods of social change. Every society has its protectors of status quo and its fraternities of the indifferent who are notorious for sleeping through revolutions. Did you hear that? Sleeping through revolutions. But today, our very survival depends on the ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change.
I'd like to do another number for you right now, taken from the same album. It's an idea that I hope we all can share with you.
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop, and I don't mind, like anybody. I want to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will, and He allowed me to go up to the mountaintop, and I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know today that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy now. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing anything. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So this is a song verbatim, the last words that Dr. King said, April 3rd, 1968. I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now. 'Cause I've been to the mountain top. And I would like to live a long life, but I'm not concerned with that now. I just want to do God's will, 'cause I've been to the mountain top.
And I looked out over, and I've seen the promised land.
I have been to the mountain top. I have seen the promised land. And I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get through. We'll get through to the promised land.
And I looked out over, and I've seen the promised land.
My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord, and I'm not fearing any man, 'cause I've seen the promised land.
I have been to the mountain top.
I have seen the promised land.
April 4th, 1968, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on the second-story balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. This inscription remains. They said one to another, "Behold, here cometh the dreamer. Let us slay him, and we shall see what becomes of his dreams." Genesis 37, chapters 19 and 20.
and leave.
We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Quote, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On the playground a few blocks from my childhood home, two children, one the color of cocoa, her friend the color of vanilla, with eyes green as the grass stains they collected at the knees of their jeans, played. While swinging together, an older couple walking past witnessed the innocence that superseded the confines of race, at least for 7-year-old playdates. The older woman mentioned that she couldn't understand what the neighborhood was coming to when Negroes and whites found it appropriate to mix and match. I smiled and told her that it's coming to a place of peace, and if she didn't mind mixing with me, I would love for her to come see some students of mine from all colors and backgrounds perform a play together. This letter is for her. 3 blocks over from me, there's a young couple who recently graduated from college, summa cum laude. They are considering law school together at 22. When I asked why they wanted to continue their education any further, they told me, because we have the right to, and there is nothing more beautiful than to have a right. This letter is for them. Just blocks up from me, there is a high school struggling to get their black children to pass classes in a system not designed for their learning. Teachers have decided to go back to grassroots to make sure that these young folk have a chance to plant their feet on the shoulders of giants we are standing on today and make way for this generation of heroes to pick up their torches and add light to their path. This letter is for them, dear people. In life, we are made to take stances and move forward. We are a mightiness. We have traveled through the pages of history with whips and stones being cast at our chances for survival. If you have ever wondered how you got over or heard a voice tell you why you can't give up now, simply fill your shoulder for the hand of the ancestor who is pushing you through. We have marched through the bitings of dogs, the separatism, the inequality, the segregation, the lynchings, the burnings and beatings, and after all that, we are still here, speaking and pushing and making our way to a better tomorrow. This poem is a call to action. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, faith is taking a step even when you can't see the whole staircase. We are people made to stand. He said that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. We are a people made to stand. We have come a long way, but we are not all the way there. We are going to need to take hands and pull one another toward it with our backbones facing forward, pull our babies out of the systems and the streets and the death tolls and the defeat. It is time to make a way for our new doctors, lawyers, teachers, judges, and parents to make stances. We are a people made to stand. Quote, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. End quote. In life, we are made to take stances and move forward in them. We are a mighty people. We have traveled through the pages of history with whips and stones being cast at our chances for survival. If you have ever wondered how you got over or heard a voice tell you why you can't give up now, simply fill your shoulder for the hand of the ancestor who is pushing you through. We are people made to stand. So stand.
You know now, from studying
people killed for nothing.
He decided he would live and die for freedom.
He was arrested and beaten more times than he could remember, but he didn't let that stop him. In 1961, very few black people were allowed to vote in Mississippi. Because Hollis joined with others and stood for justice, Mississippi has more elected black officials than any other state.
He showed us that change can happen when the old and the young come together and stand for justice.
Come together and stand for justice.
Merle Evers worked side by side with her husband in Mississippi before he was killed.
She has never stopped, and she wants all of us to build on the work of those who have came before us.
As one of the Little Rock Nine, Miss Minnie Jean Brown Trickey faced violent mobs, death threats, and daily harassment.
Central High is now integrated, but black people and poor people still don't have access to equal education.
She told us that the world needs our help. We cannot be silent witnesses of injustice.
We must come together and stand for justice.
Come together and stand for justice.
The Civil Rights Memorial in Montgomery honors those who died fighting for freedom. Their names are carved in the marble.
The marble is covered with water, and we could see ourselves in it as we read their names out loud.
We understood then that the future belongs to us, all of us.
We must honor Martin Luther King and all our freedom-loving heroes and heroes with commitment and action. So many have given so much, and still we live in a world marred with racism, poverty, war, and inequality.
It's our time. The time is now.
The time is now.
We must hold fast to the torch of freedom that has been passed to us.
We must come together and stand for justice.
Come together and stand for justice.
All right.
Now is the time. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all God's children. So I want to say, my friends, that even though we must face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream, that one day this nation will rise up and live up to the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths self-evident, that all men are created equal. So let us stand this afternoon with a greater determination, and let us move on to these powerful days, these difficult days of challenge to make America what it ought to be. We have an opportunity to make America a better nation. And I want to thank God for allowing me to be here today with you. We shall overcome.